One might say you don't have to be crazy to do it, but it certainly helps.
Excitement surrounds Moffat's first scheduled pit stop after 45 laps.
Behind the wheel, former Bathurst winner, Allan Moffat.
I think the dedication that he showed throughout his whole racing life, I think, is very special.
And as a driver, like he worked extremely hard to get the results. He's probably one of the most determined people that I've ever met.
An absolute demonstration of the crushing victory to Ford here and the Allan Moffat dealer team.
I think Bathurst is the greatest circuit we have in Australia. It's been a way of life for me, something I chose to do. I wanted to make a success of it, and everything I do is around it.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Shannon's Legends of Motorsport. Great to have your company today. This is a brand new motorsport program, and it details Australia's extraordinary love affair with touring car racing, which dates right back to the early 1960s. And over the coming months, we're going to be delving into Channel 7's extraordinary archive of touring car racing, notably Bathurst. We're going to be catching up with the legends who literally underpinned an industry, and we're going to be moving around a great variety of locations. Bowden's Own in Queensland, the National Motor Racing Museum in Bathurst, and then to Shannon's Auction Centre in Melbourne. We're really looking forward to it, and along the way we've enlisted the help of some real experts who know muscle cars. Aaron Noonan and Mark Osler will join us as well. Today, we're at Bowden's Own, a magnificent private collection of extraordinary heavy metal, the cars that we loved in the history of Australian motor racing. And our first guest really underpins the title of legend. There's so much more to his story. He's a four-time Australian touring car champion, a four-time Bathurst winner, and much, much more. Would you please welcome Mr. Allan Moffat. Welcome, mate.
Hello, mate. How are you going?
Great to have you here as always, Allan. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
I want to go right back to the start. I want to go back to those 60s. How did a young Canadian with a passion for motorsport end up here in Australia?
Well, it helped to have a father that got me to Australia in the first place. He was transferred from Toronto with his company, and I actually finished school in Melbourne. And one thing led to another. Bought a used TR3 sports car, started driving around. I had no idea what to do with it. But that led to trying to go racing. And I have to say to all the young people in the audience, I didn't know S from Clay about racing. Nobody taught me. My dad didn't know the difference between a screwdriver and a hammer. And the only good thing about driving the TR3, or the only thing that manifested it itself, was that I didn't land up killing myself.
You have a special affinity with Mount Panorama Bathurst.
Well, that helped.
19 starts. First one was back in 1969, but to some extent it might even have been one that got away.
Well, there was a little tire problem. It was my first race up there. All of a sudden, the lead Sydney drivers started blowing tires, particularly at turn 2 off Mountain Straight. I was going along fine in third place, the third Falcon, and nothing wrong with mine. But they pulled me in because they thought I was the next one to go. Much to their amazement in the pits, the tires were fine. Cost me the race.
Shame. But you went back again in 1970, second outing. You cleaned up.
With this little girl right here. Yes. What was really pleasant about that, from a driver's point of view, it was the first time we were allowed, and Brocky joined the group as well. We were the first to drive solo. And what do you reckon how many hours I was in the car?
A long, long time.
6 hours and 40 minutes. Well, by the time the 6 hours and for the last pit stop came up, I was, you know, going down Conrad and actually slowing down because I'm half with on gas and half here, and I didn't know what to do with this hand, and blah, blah, blah. You're getting the drift. All I can say is the funniest part was that when I stopped, and in those days it was a 2.5 minutes for the fuel to go in, those old cans that were slow as hell, and all of a sudden, Channel 7's at the window with a camera. Would you have a moment for a word? And I'm busy making sure my feet aren't getting wet, holding on to something to be at least half aiming, and I'm trying to talk to a reporter. Christ.
On that subject of pit stops, let's have a look at Allan's first stop in the 1970 race.
Excitement surrounds Moffat's first scheduled pit stop after 45 laps.
Right.
As new tyres are being fitted on the GTHO and fuel replenished by a well-drilled pit crew, Des West's four-barrel pacer flashes past to take over the lead. But Alterna is unperturbed.
We've made our first stop with Bruce McPhee, and it took 2 minutes and 9 seconds to change 3 tires, and we put in 25 gallons of fuel. We've got Moffat fueled up again with 4 tires and 25 gallons, and they're both out now. And we'll just have to see how it goes.
How did you actually end up being a Ford guy? It's something I haven't explored before. How did that originate?
A little bit by accident. You might remember a thing that Ford instigated the 60,000 or 80,000 kilometer miles around Yu Yang's proving ground.
I was there.
To prove that the Falcon was a good car. In the early days of the first release of the Falcons, the taxi drivers were driving the cars crazy and blowing up their clutches. And Ford management said, we got to prove that these things will go. And they took 5 or 6 cars, and we drove them 24 hours a day.
The early deals, though, Allan, were just, by today's modern motor racing standards, the dollars we're talking here are minuscule.
Well, I don't recall even being paid for that thing. We were fed it there. We slept there overnight, but money didn't come into it. And it was really only when I was hired as a driver for the Ford Motor Company that I had a salary from the company, which was unheard of.
Fascinating tales, and they will continue after the break on the Shannon's Legends of Motorsport. We're going to catch up with a very special guest. We've got some more Rare Vision. Stay with us.
Why do you go motor racing?
Well, one might say you don't have to be crazy to do it, but it certainly helps. It's been a way of life for me, something I chose to do 12 years ago. I wanted to make a success of it, and everything I do is around it. It's a 24-hour occupation.
This is the car Allan Moffat was banned from racing at Bathurst. The mighty XA GTHO Phase 4 Falcon found itself embroiled in the supercar scare of 1972. Ford, Holden and Chrysler were building special models in a bid to outdo one another at the annual Bathurst Enduro. To be eligible for competition, they each had to sell 200 to the public, and that's where the uproar began. A single Sydney Sun-Herald newspaper article by the late Evan Green would see the battle for Bathurst hijacked by politicians, and the new cars never saw the light of day at Bathurst.
Shannon's Legends of Motorsport, that was a big story at the time, nearly stopped the business.
And it went around the country like the speed of light, and Ford management went, as they were quite capable of doing, got wobbly in the knees, and it was all over. The 3 cars were in Lot 6 where they were being produced. I never drove. I only ever drove the car that David and the boys own now one day at Lakeside.
What I want to do now is bring out a very special guest, a former teammate of yours, fellow Ford factory driver, winner of the Sandown Enduro in 1969, Bathurst winner in 1981, an absolute legend and a real gentleman. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John French.
You sit there, mate.
John, pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you very much for spending a moment with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Do you enjoy working with this man?
Yes, I did. We had good times together. I first worked with him in 1969 when Al Turner rang me up to co-drive, to have Allan as my co-driver at the
Thanks, mate. Gee, I owe you a lot. I'd have never made it without you.
No.
Did you teach the young bloke a thing or two?
Oh yes, well we did. We won it, didn't we?
That's right.
So
we 3 hours.
Yeah, best 3 hours that I've ever had.
You did 19 Bathurst starts, and you did an awful lot of racing, and a lot of it with great success.
Yes, I did. I finished second in '72 with the Brian Bird Ford Falcon to Brocky, and in '71 I don't know where I finished, but they put dirt in my petrol tank and fixed my carburettor up, and Allan's went all day and he won it.
Oh, is that right? There's a backstory that we didn't know. You mentioned...
I can't help the fact he put turpentine in the gas tank.
Frenchie, you mentioned 1972. Of course, that was the first year for a Peter Brock victory, and we've got a little slice of it here to look at now.
And they're away. And Peter Brock not getting away any more quickly than the Falcons. There he is in picture there, Brock. But the Falcons on the front row, the first four of them all getting away well, with Moffat going into the lead, and tucking in behind him is Johnny Goss. It's four big Falcons in that enormous pall of spray as they go for the first time up Mountain Straight.
But it's Moffat who's in front as he comes for the first time into XL Bend. Pick him up at the new angle we have here. Goes it wide. John Goss is tucked in behind him, as you can see, but there are plenty of Falcons there.
And in trouble, and letting John French or Gibson through into third. One of those two drivers treading gingerly. Let's watch Goss here, because Goss has already dropped one position as he got a little bit crossed up there. That's Moffat in first.
See you wagging the tail a bit there in the wet, Frenchie. That was good.
As a matter of fact, it was quite an interesting day. Actually, I did something, or the crew did something on my car that none of the others had, and it was, I think, better to drive. We used to have what they call lockers, and they were...
What, they're between the ears? Or?
Yeah, them too. But we took it out and we put a clutch-type limiter slip in it, and it was a lot easier to drive. I did have one moment... coming on to Mountain Straight, I spun, and with great skill I stopped the spinning and pointing the right way, and away we went again. All I could think when I was doing it was, in those days there was no fence, and I thought, oh, I hope I don't go over here and bugger Birdie's car.
Allan, it was a huge year for you. Tremendous battle with Peter and slippery conditions, as we saw. A big moment.
Well, I lasted, I think, probably about 15 laps in the lead, and by that time Brocky got up into second. And on the approach to McPhillamy, I hit a puddle, and round she went. And I thought, well, I'm safe. Brocky's so close to me, he's going to have to kind of hold on or back off. But as I'm spinning, this cheeky bugger behind me, he drove up on the bank, and he actually did a 45-degree pass of me as I'm spinning. Yeah. And by the time I got reversed and back out again, I think I finished 8th that year. Those Holden drivers were hard to beat.
Ladies and gentlemen, please thank John French, special guest today. Thanks, John. True gentleman, absolute legend. Take a break on Shannon's Legends of Motorsport. After the break, we've got some more from the 7 Volt, in particular the 1977 Bathurst. Stay with us.
Well, I feel very secure in my Falcon, Evan, because it has a complete roll cage, as we call it. These bars go all the way through to the back of the car. They go through to the front. And in the event of, let's not think about it, but in the event of a flip, there's no question of the roof coming down. And it'd take a pretty strong Tirana to come through the side of the door as well.
Number 1, Allan Moffat, and one of the world's great endurance drivers, Jackie X from Belgium.
Allan, in Jackie X, you have one of the world's great drivers in almost any type of car.
that poses extra responsibilities. How do you feel about that?
Well, we've been working for 100 days with just that in mind. When Jackie was kind enough to accept our offer, we went overboard financially and physically to see that he's got the best car that we can prepare within the framework of the regulations.
And how much effort has gone into the vehicle itself? I know you always regard Bathurst as the big race of the year. Obviously, this is your biggest effort.
It is our biggest effort, and thanks to the help of the Ford dealers of Australia, we've been able to get a budget to do the job, as well as it's the finest pair of Falcons we've ever brought to Bathurst.
Allan Moffat, Jackie X, welcome back to the Shannon's Legends of Motorsport. That was something that I've never seen before, a preview item leading into the 1977 race, and Evan Green, Will Hagan doing the call back in those days. You talked about two cars, and I know how much effort, work, finance is involved, particularly in that era, to get two competitive cars together.
To get it into arithmetic sense, two cars is not one and two. Two cars is like running almost four, the effort that it takes. One car, everybody could concentrate. Two cars became a nightmare, was really like running three cars.
And one of the things that was notable on the car that's in the background there at the moment is at this stage, Ford had vacated, so you're now supported by the Ford dealers, which is a different deal again.
Ford dealers, yes. Well, they were very enthusiastic. I think I could count about maybe two or three of them by name. The only reason I was able to get the money was that Ford management forced and squeezed the money out of the dealer's parts account. That's how the company was running.
Would it be impertinent of me to ask how much?
Well, not enough, let's put it that way.
Well played, well played.
It was less than a third of the operation.
Let's have a look at some of the highlights from the 1977 race.
Moffat in car one. Colin Bond has been out a little bit by two of the slower cars, and he'll want to get back within sight of his leader again so that they can maintain this flying wedge at the front of the field. Look at the smoothness with which Moffat goes down through the Essence.
Actually, down the Conrod Straight about 3 or 4 laps ago, Evan, the quickest car was Peter Jansen's, recorded 160 miles an hour, Bond 159 miles an hour, and Moffat 157 miles an hour, and Ian Gagan driving the Jane car 152 miles an hour.
Other voice that you heard there was John Davison, former Formula 5000 driver and the promoter of Sandown Raceway for many years, was in the telecast. The thing that strikes me when I look at those old pictures, Alan, is you guys doing 160, 170 miles an hour and rounding up a tilt tray truck.
Yeah, that was really a lot of fun because of the angle. It was like having a razor blade pointed at you when you came around a 90-degree corner. That was pathetic by when you watch NASCAR today, where they go out with the little trucks in a flash. They don't have things like that.
You realise how far things have come when you look at some of that vision. The improvements in safety have been extraordinary. Now, I mentioned at the top of the program that we've got some expertise in our shows over the coming months to help explain the story. Aaron Noonan joins us, and each week he's going to present something special from the 7-volt, Aaron.
Neil, I've been digging really hard through the 7-volt, and I've dug something from 1978. Now, this will show how advertising has come a long way. Check this out. They've put Fred Gibson in a Ford road car, and they've used some of the biggest Ford names of motorsport at the time as traffic cones. Have a look at this.
Oh, God.
Between them, these 6 professional racing drivers have won just about everything worth winning in Australian motorsport. They came to the Ford high-speed test track today to prove a point. This is a production model 78 Falcon 500. Now, Falcon suspension is matched to high-quality steel belt radial tyres and is engineered for smooth ride as well as for handling. The Falcon is now traveling at over 90 kilometers per hour. Once again. And the point we're making is that no matter how a car looks when it's driven around witches' hats, it's how a car performs when your life's at stake that really counts. We never felt better about Falcon.
Yeah, we didn't
and
either.
Falcon never felt better.
Jesus.
Great stuff, isn't it? We never felt that good about Falcon. Alan, how did you feel about that, and how many takes did they need to do? I'm guessing you just did the one.
Tell us the backstory.
The backstory was that this was all revolved around Holden had the radial tuned suspension, and Brocky did one of those and showed how fast he could drive a car deliberately. This is it. Let's just watch how well Peter's driving here. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, don't hit that curve, mate. 70K. Wow, really moving. Oh, yeah.
So the point being that that was Ford's response, and that was the reason why you guys sunk the boot into the witch's hat.
Well, actually, the real suggestion was I went to Ford management and I said, really, Peter's doing a fairly shifty job on this, the way he's showing his way that the Holden can do anything. I said, I can do that. And the marketing manager said, oh, well, I don't know about that, Alan. You know, Peter's a pretty good driver, you know. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, long story short, I convinced them that I'll go and do a test run and prove to you that I'll go through those witches' hats faster, or as fast, if not faster, to prove that it can be done. And that would be good. And then I said, but you could add something to this. Why don't we ask Edsel Ford, who'd just come out as assistant managing director, let's have him as the final witch's hat. That'll be good. I'm driving. I'm not going to hit him. And we'll do it. Well, when that request went to Detroit for approval, it took exactly 3 seconds for the NO to come back and say, are you guys down there crazy? He is a Ford family member. For Christ's sake, take it easy. We'll get all the Ford drivers to do what we did on one condition, that Freddie Gibson was the driver of the car. I wasn't going to have Buddy Gossey coming up with my buddy backside.
Outstanding story, not a high-vis vest anywhere to be seen. I primarily have always known you as a Ford man, but Aaron scraped through the Channel 7 library just recently and managed to find an absolute gem from 1979, Amaru Park driving a Bob Morris A9X Tirana. Check it out.
And Moffat looks happy. He's been smiling here all weekend, putting in good practice laps, and now running second to Borrie Morris in the opener, and nothing between these two as Moffat takes the inside. Allan Moffat, his first drive in a Holden Tirana A9X hatchback, and he comes off the turn, and he's going to win, is he? It's almost a full finish. Moffat wins it from Bobby Morris.
And the two Fords out front are just trundling along. For a long time, it was John Harvey and Wayne Negus who held a very close third place. They made a simple pit stop, found they had some oil to add to the differential, which really surprised John Harvey, who hadn't anticipated any trouble from there. And now with Wayne Negus no more than 5 laps into the race, he's taken the car into the area behind the pits. And what the trouble is, we'll find out a little later from how many in the pits, Leo Gagan and Kerry Luckett.
Welcome back. You're watching the Shannon's Legends of Motorsport, that amazing race in 1977. Alan, is that a career-defining race for you in the tapestry of your work?
Yes, it was. And the starting point was Jackie Ickx saying he'd come, and that was a delight. And secondly, I'd managed to talk Colin Bond into driving a Falcon, and that really capped off our capacity to do and finish the two cars. Colin never made a mistake, and Jackie didn't hurt the car. The only thing Jackie had a problem with, he came in after 1 lap in practice, and I said, what's wrong? And he says, well, there's no brakes. And I said, oh, well, you better let me have a drive. And I drove. Of course, it was perfect. And, well, perfect. They were useless anyway, but they were right. And I said, Jackie, the brakes are fine. He said, yes, but Alan's the car. It does not stop.
That's right. It's the way they were. Well, if 1977 was a career-defining moment for this man, when I think about the cars that you drove, I think our next car that we're going to feature is very much the case. I said at the top of the show that we've got some expertise to tell the story. It is time to welcome a very special guest, Mark Osler, to tell the story.
Thank you, Neil. And it's just such a thrill just to stand next to this car. This was Allan Moffat's career maker by his own admission. The closest thing you could get to a purpose-built race car inside a production car body shell. 101 race wins from 151 starts in 6 consecutive seasons. Unbelievable. So it basically won 2 races for every 3 starts. What made this car so special? It was one of only 7 built by Ford's Special Vehicles division in the US to take on Chevrolet in the US Trans Am series. And one of them, this one, ended up in Australia. Incredible car. Carcraft, the team who worked on it were the same guys who developed the GT40 for Le Mans, and they put that same expertise into this thing. Look at it. Look how low it sits. Absolutely fantastic looking muscle car. Very, very close to the ground, and they even reprofiled the front of the car aerodynamically so that it really stuck to the road. It looked like it was pulled down onto the track by magnetic force when you saw it race, and that was the secret to its success. Don't forget, this was only a 5-litre engine against 6-litre, and in Bob Jane's case, 7-litre engines, and Moffat was able to take the fight up to them. Incredible. Under the hood, one of the toughest small block V8s ever to come out of Detroit. The Boss 302, mounted with 4 downdraft Weber carburetors, about 475 brake horsepower, which was a lot of power in those days. And when this car ran at Bathurst in Easter 1972, 170 mile an hour. Can you believe how fast these cars were in this day? There is so much you can talk to about this car. It is just an incredible machine. I don't have the time to do it, but I do, in reflection, think of one important thing. This was a gift. It came free of charge from Ford's US racing boss in America, Jacques Passaneau, for Moffat. Free then, today, priceless.
Well done, Marco. Beautifully told. A remarkable motor car, Alan, and it makes my heart beat just to walk in the door and to see it. Is it special for you?
Well, it is, because what David and the boys don't know is I've got the spare key. And when all the chairs get moved tonight, I don't know what's going to happen to it. I really don't.
It is a very special machine. I want to take us back now, though, to 1977 once again, and just sample what went on at the back end of the race. That very special 1-2, you and Colin, your car ailing, and a special moment in the history of Australian motorsport.
Side by side, Colin Bond marginally in front. But he'll ease up for the corner and let his team leader through, I would think. But he's in front at the moment. He's going to have trouble braking here to let Moffat through again. Now he does. And Moffat from the outside will sweep around and take the checkered flag first for victory in the 1977 Hardy-Ferodo 1000.
A tremendous victory. Magnificent. Professionalism at its best with Allan Moffat. All the crews on pit row here have just lined up and are applauding Allan Moffat and Colin Bond for their 1-2 finish. A tremendous demonstration of supremacy from the Moffat Ford dealers team in this, the 1977 Hardy-Ferodo.
He was a great teammate, though, wasn't he?
He was a superb addition to the team, and I wouldn't have contemplated trying to run the 2 cars without him. It took me about 3 years to convince him that those XU1s weren't fast enough for him. Come and get in a good car. And he really did. He was tremendous backup. We won every race in '77.
That's an interesting point, isn't it? Because he was indelibly linked to Holden in those early days, so it must have been quite a sales job that you did to drag him across.
Well, yes, it was quite a number of, what state are we in, 4Xs, and led on to a bit of cognac, and then finished off the afternoon with some champagne, and even his wife was saying, well, that sounds like a good enough deal to me.
Or you'll get a call from Robin. Going to take a break now on the Shannon's Legends of Motorsport. We'll go to the break, though, with a very rare item from the 7 News Vault about Alan's unfortunate, ill-fated attempt with the Federation Falcon for Bathurst in 1980. Watch this.
Why is it a last-minute entry? Well, I didn't make up my mind in time. We didn't have a Mazda to enter. Our governing body saw to that. Ford Motor Company didn't want to go racing, and the only way for me to take my sponsors to Bathurst was to get a car there. And they don't run Malvern Stars at Bathurst.
If you lose, is it the end of the racing career for Allan?
Oh, no, not at all. No, I do have good sponsors. We're going in. I won't land up bankrupt on this deal.
Would you like to predict the placings at the end of this year's event?
I think it'll be A. Moffat first, P. Brock second, and headed by somebody else who's lucky enough to come third.
He doesn't want to come second today. He wants to win Bathurst, wants to put his name alongside that of Peter Brock as one of the only people who have won Bathurst 5 times. Moffat's won 4 times, but so has, way back in the past, people like Bob Jane and Harry Firth. He'd like to join the more distinctive group, consisting solely of Peter Brock, who's done it 5 times. Today could be the day.
Welcome back. Shannon's Legends of Motorsport, and we now move to the Mazda era. There were 4 years, 81, 82, 83 and 84, and that was a very different project. Alan, how did you put it together?
Well, I didn't. I put it together, but I was phoned in late 80 by a fellow I knew at Mazda and said, the managing director would like to see you. And I said, well, about what? He said, well, we'd let him do the talking, but we want to go racing. I said, oh, yeah. I didn't know a rotary from a wheelbarrow. And when I saw the size of the engine, I said, oh, this will be good at Bathurst. Mm-hmm. And I simply said, well, we've got to get it through CAMS to start with. The car was homologated by the Japanese, but that meant nothing to CAMS. They were determined that because it was a 2-door car, it wasn't in sync with all the other cars that were 4 doors. And do we really need this little box, if you get my drift? And it took almost 18 months to get it homologated. Anyway, long story short, we land up getting 4 cars. We had a left-hand drive car for the anti-clockwise circuits, and a right-hand drive for the right-hand circuits. The Japanese were very forthcoming. I said, could we have a couple of engines spare? 6 engines arrived. When I talked about gearboxes, we were a little bit, leave that to us. A couple of gearboxes arrived that were like Rolls-Royce shifters. Ultimately, we flew our prototype car up to Japan and raced it around, or when I say raced it, we drove it around Mount Fuji circuit. The Japanese test driver got in it and picked out about 4 things that was wrong with our development car. We just built it like a Falcon. Well, they tore the front apart, then they tore the back apart, and then they said, okay, Allan, now you can drive it. And we just couldn't believe what they'd done in one morning at Fuji. It was fantastic.
And you achieved a touring car championship in 1983, and to expand on the Mazda years, more from the vault with Aaron.
And Neil, the 7 News archive has been an absolute goldmine for me for Shannon's Legends of Motorsport. 1983, the opening round was in Melbourne at Calder Park Raceway. It was a very warm day, and here's the report as it aired on 7 News.
The 40-degree temperature at Calder took its toll on a number of cars today. Shortly after the start, Allan Grice was forced out of the race.
He held it very well, but he's gone wide. That's Grice gone wide. Will he get to the fence? No, he won't.
And look at Brock on the outside of Allan Moffat and rhyming up.
Another top fancy, defending champion Dick Johnson was forced into the pits and was unable to continue.
A good start to the national title defence for Dick Johnson.
Peter Brock took the lead after 10 laps and looked like winning when he too was forced from the track.
That's the smoke, Peter Brock. We saw smoke there. Peter Brock has stopped. A wave of the hand to say, that's it, fellas, I've had it.
With Brock out of the race, Moffat was left in front, and from that point on, he was never headed. The 3-times winner took the checkered flag and will go into the second round with a clear lead on his main rivals.
We'll go to Allan Moffat. Here he comes across to pick up the checkered flag. Second place will go to George Fury, and third place to the veteran Murray Carter.
Oh, great stuff. Fantastic stuff from the 7 News vault. Of course, that was the first of 4 victories in that year's championship and the 4th of Allan's titles, but only one that came in the Mazda RX-7.
Great little car, distinctive.
It was the reliability factor. We went from working on a Falcon where we used to spend 95% of our money and our time on the engines and 5% on the car. With the little car we started, it was 95% on the car. I think we had gold-plated ball bearings throughout the whole thing. I wasn't wasting any money on anything. We built a lovely car. And really, our first prototype that we took off the surface plate, which was a plate about the size of this stage, went to Perth and won the race first up. And the Japanese really did understand that we were trying hard, and goodies kept coming at a rapid rate from Hiroshima.
4 visits to Mount Panorama during the Mazda years. You got on the podium 3 of those 4 occasions, but you didn't get the win that you were looking for. But we have found some extraordinary vision from one of the shootouts in 1984, the last year of the project.
Here comes the man, Moffat, 43 Mazda. Coming up on Skyline, and you can see why they call it that. Now, off the top, hard in the mouth. Through the dipper and the S's. Down through the gears, on the brakes. Takes the left-hander, and the checkered flag. What's the time for Allan Moffat?
2:16.41 seconds, the time for Allan Moffat in the number 43 Mazda RX-7.
Sadly, when Group C finished, so did the Mazda project. That would have been a disappointment.
Well, it was a big one, and it was the only year that I didn't have a car. We flew a, if you can believe this, a Commodore to Japan and tried to talk the Japanese into running one of our V8s, and we'll call that a Mazda. They didn't like that idea very much, right? So I was out of a job, and that's when Mike Raymond said, you better come and learn how to hold a microphone for us. But by the end of the year, Peter's secretary rang me and said, come on down, we want to talk.
We'll discuss that in more detail very shortly, but we'll go to the break because in actual fact what happened was Allan worked for us on 7 in 1985. He tested all of the cars with the exception of the TWR Jaguar. They wouldn't let him in it. So here's his report driving the HDT Commodore.
Yeah, this will be good.
My first Group A drive, and I can tell everybody that's listening that these fellows have got a hard job ahead of them. The first thing I noticed was the lack of tire on the ground, the nervousness that the drivers are going to experience because of the narrow rear tires compared to the Group C tires was the most significant factor. But this mobile Holden dealer team car is beautifully balanced. I was very impressed with the way the car turned into the corners and no sign of fishtailing or oversteering as we call it. The brakes were good and a real nice engine that could pull you up that hill. I'll give it top marks.
What a great start for Brock and Allan Moffat. This win will be well received by Commodore followers, not so much by Rover and obviously Volvo followers. Coming out of the last corner, across the strike, and Peter Brock and Allan Moffat take the Wellington 500.
That was early in 1986, as you said before the break. You took the call. Now you're a Holden man. That was January, that Wellington Street race, and a tremendous partnership that got started with Peter. That was one that we didn't see coming in the early days.
No, not at all. And the best part for me was we flew to Europe to get set up for the World Touring Car Championship in 1987. And I said to Peter, well, why would I fly back and forth? You and John are doing that. I'll just get a little flat in London and base myself there, and then I'll go to the races, Donington, wherever, Hockenheim, ultimately Spa. And that was a great 9 months in London. That was one of my long sort of sabbatical holidays.
Well, the notion of racing internationally in a domestic program, if you like, in the HDT program was very special, and it was obviously very exciting for Australian motorsport fans as well. In fact, we've got a little bit of vision here from your trip to Germany. Look at this.
Pit stop now for the mobile Commodore team as they come into the pits. Allan Moffat at the wheel, steps out, oil going into the car. They've got a problem. Looking underneath the car. So Moffat is out and Brock is underway.
Well, there's a minor engine problem. It's not revving out as well as it should. But I'll tell you what, this European racing, if we're not skating around in the snow, we're sliding around in the oil. The track's like a skating rink with the oil everywhere. I think in third position, we're holding it. That's about as best we can hope for today.
Alan, there was so much promise with that as a project. It must have been disappointing, gutting when it all came to a grinding halt.
Well, it was, and the problem was we thought with our V8 engines we could go and take on these little BMWs and whatever else was little. Well, we were wrong. The BMW teams were, they were like that little Mazda. They went like hell everywhere, and we never got anywhere near them. That was hard to beat them.
Just a word on Peter Brock, your relationship with him, the man, the time you spent together, and the time you spent apart as fierce competitors.
Well, we both started at Bathurst together. I didn't know his name, he didn't know mine. I learned in a hurry what his name was. And I knew he worked and did his best job for GM. I was a Ford driver. I looked after myself. And there was no fraternity as such. There was certainly no hatred. I could certainly see what I was up against. This guy was the toughest guy in the field. And I knew I had a long road in front of me because he was in the same boat as I was. We were both determined after our first visit in 1969, we were going to make this is going to be a 25-year seance, if you like.
This show is all about great machinery, it's about great people, it's about passion, and that's exactly what the Shannon's Club's all about too. So why not join the Shannon's Club today? You can create your own virtual garage, discuss topics on the forums, enter the latest competitions, find a car club or event. Plus you can watch catch-up episodes and rare footage of the Shannon's Legends of Motorsport, all as a part of Shannon's Club TV. Alan, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the program today, and there's so many more things that I would love to have a chat about. We could go on for it. Will you come back at some stage, please?
I certainly will, mate, and let me say it's been a thrill to be here with you today.
Thank you very much. Alan. Hope you've enjoyed our program, Shannon's Legends of Motorsport. And stay with us, we've got more to come in the coming weeks and months. We've got some great episodes and some great stories to tell. Thanks for your company today. Bye for now. Please welcome Larry Perkins.
Larry's Larry. Larry was a gentleman in my opinion.
He marches and always has done to the beat of his own drum.
I certainly played at hardball on anything other than the facts.